Okay.
And
Well,
so I didn't know the spellings of it.
Tex was walking. Ever
yeah,
since he had
it's not an
back
issue for
surgery,
us.
it's been 10 or 12 years ago now. And you know,
But see what I Kim said, I'm
broken
curious
and
if he, you know, what he tells me.
that disc
Ask him that question.
that he had fixed, had to have back surgery at Carson.
I have got one thing
It was
I
the
would
only
like to
one
look
that's
at
still in place. But the cracks outside.
on the PC agenda.
It takes that here, I've been worried about that one disc all this time, that I'd mess it up again. And the motorcycle couldn't even hurt that one, it broke all up, it's all pieces.
Probably know about
But he's doing great.
I went and investigated, and I think
He
it's,
says, well, I'm not back
When he
to
first came
normal,
to talk to me,
is what, the way I
he told
feel.
me we'd have to get some
You know, and he said, I'm still tired. He was kind of worried about those 10-hour shifts, but see, they work them 3 tens and then a day off, and then another 10.
yeah.
You know, and then they get the weekend, so, you know, it's not very bad. Yeah.
Good money.
Yeah.
It
So,
sells tax dollars, and there's also the potential
anyway,
with, well, it's looking at sales too. Chiggers.
Playing on repeat.
And some other stuff, you know, and
instead of
it
trying to
wouldn't
keep their
change
kids
anything.
bottled up all the time,
It's
that
actually
you all
taking
have
place
to
now.
live.
Call this meeting of the Jefferson County Board of Zoning Appeals to order. If you would, please join me in prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you thanking you for this beautiful day you've blessed us with, and we just pray, Lord, you're pleased with how we've lived it. As we come together tonight to do the business of the county, dear God, I pray you would guide us in our words and in our actions, how we interact with one another, and just may your will be done, dear God, in this and in everything else we do. We thank you for letting us live in such a beautiful part of the country, and I pray, Lord, you'd help us not take it for granted. Come to you asking these things and giving you thanks in Christ Jesus' precious name. Amen.
Amen.
Terry, will you lead us in prayer?
I will. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I trust you received your packet and had a chance to review the minutes. And if there's no changes or corrections, I'd entertain a motion to approve.
motion.
Proper motion? Second. Second, any discussion? All those in favor, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed likewise. Motion passes. Do we have any citizens' input tonight for the Board of Zoning Appeals? Zoning, A1 zoning, A1 zoning. Okay, got Marion Knight. You're gonna do regional planning? Okay, that's, I was just reading there on the line zone. You're fine. We'll slide that over. And, David Nelson, regional planning, okay. That was under zoning, and then Beth Nelson, I suppose, is planning as well? Okay. We'll move on to the next item on the agenda. Have a variance request for a garage to be constructed at the front of the property at Lot 74, Sunset Harbor Drive, Dandridge, Tennessee, by Harrison and Candace Campbell. Of the Campbell here, if you would come forward and
They're building a house up here on the lot next to the common area in Sunset Harbor. Me and Jordan went up and looked at it today. Their lot is one that drops off to the lake. We drove out there, they got it staked. They ain't really got nowhere else to put it beside the front of their house. We've given a few variances in that same subdivision before.
okay.
And Jordan saw it, he wants to talk about it too.
Yeah, it's a reasonable request. Don't have an issue with it. The way the lot's laid out, it makes sense, what they want to do,
Okay, fair enough.
in my view.
Do you have anything you'd like to add or say?
I wish there was somewhere else we could put it, but,
I understand.
Right.
but we've searched everywhere, and that's
Okay,
about the only place to put it.
How big of a garage are you gonna build? I mean, just like a standard,
It's 24 by 34, so not big, just a 3-car.
kind of a standard.
does anyone have any questions on that? Okay, what's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to grant this variance request for the location of the garage to be in front of the house based upon topographical issues.
Okay, we have a proper motion, we have a second?
Second.
Okay, have a second, have any more discussion? Being none, we'll vote. All those in favor, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes.
Thank you, we'll get you a letter out.
Okay,
Thank you. That was the last item on the agenda. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor, let me know by saying aye. Motion passes. Okay, moving on, we will call to order the meeting of the Jefferson County Planning Commission. And again, I see that you received your packets and had a chance to review the minutes. If there's no corrections, entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Proper motion. Have a second. Second. Any discussion? All those in favor of approving the minutes, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. Okay, on down to citizens' input. And we will go back to the start, Miss Marion Knight.
glasses, sorry, don't start the timer.
Too late.
Yeah, 2.5 minutes left.
Marion Knight, 440 West Main Street, Dandridge. At last month's meeting, I asked you to consider cleaning up A1 before you address other zoning issues, as everyone, including members of this commission, apparently hates A1. Mr. Scarlett stated that all zones must be addressed, not just A1. I agree with him, for once, Mr. Scarlett. Before I was a teacher.
Let me write that down.
Before I was a teacher, I was a systems analyst for a large bank. I decided to analyze the current zoning resolutions with help on updates from Tim Seals and Stephanie Reston. I would like to thank them for their assistance. I have prepared a 2-page synopsis in chart form of what is allowed in the county's zones. I will distribute a copy for each of you when I finish my remarks. I have color-coded each zone, leaving A1 white. The activities that are unique to A1 are highlighted in yellow. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have about my chart. If you find the chart useful, I'm happy to supply a PDF for those of you who use a computer. In preparing my notes for tonight's meeting, I noticed one item on the agenda that has raised many questions in my mind. This item is the rezoning of part of a Strawberry Plains property from A1 to I1. Here are the questions that I would like you to answer. Is it common to rezone part of a property, or is this setting a dangerous precedent? While I realize that mining takes place in this county, it started well before zoning resolutions were developed. Is it your intention to now expand industrial use into agricultural areas? You can use my chart to see exactly what is allowed in industrial zones 1, 2, and 3. I certainly would not want them near my home. I often hear Strawberry Plains residents complain that a lot of undesirable activities end up in their community. Why? And have you spoken to the neighbors to find out if industrial use is desired in the area? What will be the effect on surrounding property values and insurance costs? And how about traffic? If this property is rezoned, will other properties in the area be rezoned for industrial use? Is this your intention? Has anyone checked with the county attorney to see if members of the community could sue for reduction in the value of their homes? Adding industrial land to a county can change its very nature. Is a desire for that showing up in the long-range planning survey? I hope you will think carefully about the Pandora's box you may be opening by changing agricultural land into industrial land in this county. Thank you. Okay, and I have handouts for you. So it's kind of like a teacher and systems analyst all rolled into one. These are my questions for you. I hope you answer them. And this is my lovely 2-page chart. You
We're
can
call
take a
that
copy
the
too.
John
I
Neal
can
Scarlet
copy
chart?
Hmm?
The Scarlet chart?
The Scarlet chart. Yeah, we can call the Scarlet chart. It's a nice, simple chart, shows you everything you need to know about zoning. Section 9, I should say Article 9. And if you have problems like I do, reading across lines, I've also got little pieces of cardboard that you can use to hold your place.
Why didn't you ask for dinner or something last time?
Have fun with that.
How do we get a gold star?
I don't know if they pass those out.
Thank you. I'll take my seat again.
Place. See these boys out, so we don't leave the top and bottom line together. Please, please. Smack somebody with a hook. Let's move on down citizen input to Mr. David Nelson.
Well, Marion's a hard act to follow, and she does do good charts. I'm David Nelson. I live at 470 Jefferson Road in Strawberry Plains. I'm also speaking about the A1 to I1 rezoning request. There are two issues I will discuss. One is the county's urban growth plan, and the other is Tennessee guidelines to approve a zoning change. In June 2000, Jefferson County enacted an urban growth plan as required by Tennessee statute. Once enacted, and also as required by Tennessee statute, all land use decisions by this body and also by county commission must be consistent with that urban growth plan. This rezoning request is for property located in an area our urban growth plan designates as a rural area. Rural areas, again, as required by Tennessee statute, are to be preserved for agriculture, forest, recreation, and wildlife uses, and for uses other than high-density development. Given there are several I-1 properties already in the vicinity of this property, I ask you to consider if adding another one rises to the level of high density in violation of your urban growth plan. This Tennessee Planning Commission handbook lays out guidelines for making zoning changes. This handbook describes several tests which must be met for a zoning change to be approved. Here are three of the more salient out of those several tests that must be met. 1, does the zoning change correlate to the county's urban growth plan? 2, does the zoning change have an adverse impact on adjoining property owners? 3, does the zoning change benefit one property owner only to the detriment of the general public? In your Tennessee handbook. Commissioners, does this rezoning change pass the tests?
Thank you, Mr. Nelson. Next on the citizens' input will be Ms. Beth Nelson.
Beth Nelson, 470 Judson Road, Strawberry Plains. I am too asking for you to consider looking at this A1 to I1 zone. You know, we've battled in Strawberry Plains, continue to battle industrial zoning in our communities. We have houses everywhere in these communities. We have A1, we have rural, we have commercial, we have a mixed bag because we just plop things everywhere. The intent of the industrial district, according to the regulations for our zoning, is this district is to establish areas for industrial land uses that require good transportation facilities and utilities, and that will not adversely affect neighboring properties. The requirements of this district are designed to promote industrial activities and prevent most other uses. How can having no developmental standards in our zoning around, and this is the list of industrial properties: manufacturing, food processing, distilleries, mining, refinement of raw materials, truck terminals, mini warehouses, warehouse indoor storage, wholesale trade, outdoor storage yards, outdoor storage of motor vehicles, lumber sales, adult uses, payday and title loan businesses, outdoor shooting ranges, solar energy and wind systems as accessory uses, custom slaughterhouses, and accessory buildings. How can, if we have no developmental standards around those businesses, it not adversely affect the neighboring properties? This property is next to homes. It's across the street from homes, it's next to homes, and it is a corridor that goes through to go to other homes. So if this goes into effect and that is zoned industrial, then the horse is out of the barn. I don't like my horses out of the barn. You know, you've zoned something industrial and you have no control over what it will be. And it can be any of those uses that have no developmental standards around them other than setbacks. We have 50-foot front, 25 rear, and 25 side. There are some developmental standards around the adult uses, But as far as the zoning is concerned, there's not anything that would protect the neighboring properties. The other question I have is, has the owner requested, since the owner has requested a partial rezoning, I'm concerned about that. Is there a special circumstance which would allow for a partial rezoning of a property? How do you partially rezone a piece of property if it's not re-subdivided? I don't understand how that can happen. So you're gonna have an industrial zone next to an agricultural zone and a homeowner. And so I would ask for you to consider those things as you look at this tonight. Thank you all.
Thank you, Ms. Nelson. Moving on down the agenda, the first item on the list is the rezoning request from A1 to I1 for property at the corner of Highway 11E and Bruner Road, in Strawberry Plains, by Robert Bruner. Is Mr. Bruner here tonight?
Come on up here, Ron.
Yeah, come on.
He's asking to rezone 2 acres of his tract, and the reason he's not cut it off yet is because it's not rezoned. We've done that many times over the years. County Commission can turn you down, no need for him spending the money on a survey. We've done this, I don't know how many times, we've done it in the past, just rezone whatever they say, then we do the cutoff. He's wanting to build a machine shop. I forget now what he makes, or gonna make, but that's what he's wanting to do with the 2 acres. He don't need no more than that. And in I1, you don't have to have, I2, you have to have 5 acres or more, but not in I1.
Okay.
That's why he's doing that.
Okay. Mr. Bruner, do you have anything you want to share?
Nothing other than what's been stated, basically, is we've been a landowner there at that property for 85 years, my family. And I've done machine work for 35 years of my career, and I went out on my own, done a little venture on my own in my garage, and it's turned into a full-time business. And I've outgrown that space, and I'm needing to expand. And I asked for 2 acres because we still farm that land. We're running beef cattle on it as of right now, and we're going to continue to run beef cattle on it. And we just want a small piece of property right there to build a metal building on. And we want it to be a very nice facility that the county can be proud of, as far as our community can also be proud of. And I was raised in that community, and I'm a strong supporter of Strawberry Plains. Have been for years. Helped rebuild the library, and I've helped with the Senior Citizen Center, many of the churches in the area, so I want to be a good neighbor. And, you know, I'll just be honest, I'm a little bit nervous being up here. This is my first go around. Several people, it's a regular deal for them, not for me. So, you know, I'm not trying to be out of the way to anybody, but like I said, in order for me to continue to do the job that I've done for 35 years, I need to expand the business. And the 2 acres that I requested was a size small enough that I felt like it would be used as a size that people wouldn't feel threatened by, because if it's commercial or I2 or something like that, you've got to go 5, 8, 10 acres, and that's not my intention. And you know, I'm 58 years old. Like I said, I've been a strong supporter of Jefferson County in many ways, and I want to continue to do that in any way I can.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions, Mr. Bruner?
I do. Well, I don't know if you want to answer them or maybe Jordan. It's about
Okay, well,
zoning.
Okay, I'm gonna give Jordan a chance here in just a minute.
Okay.
But if anybody'd like to talk to Mr. Bruner, that'd be the time to ask any questions. We're good? Okay. Jordan?
We went out and looked at the property, and some good points were raised earlier about the legality. Rezoning is a legislative decision. This board is being asked to recommend for or against to the county commission, who has the ultimate say. I'm sure you all know that, but just to reiterate, a lot of factors can go into a planning commission's decision to rezone or not, including, does it benefit someone at the expense of others? Is it gonna be a nuisance? The biggest question I ask is this gonna be a nuisance? You plan on there being the most intense use of land that's allowed in the new zone. I know we take him at his word, he's gonna do a machine shop in a metal building. It's gonna be low intensity as far as industrial goes. But you never know, it may be next generation from now, several decades, somebody could put something that's more intense there. So you wanna plan on it being the most intense use, and in that case, would it be a nuisance? So that's always how I approach these things. And so, I don't think it would be a spot zone in this case. Spot zone is actually a pretty narrow legal category that you'd have to show, I believe you have to show damages to have standing. So it'd have to be after the fact. And in this case, I don't think there's gonna be any damages. And so, it's not so much about the size of the parcel, it's about it benefiting one person to the detriment of everyone else. And then people have to have damages to show standing, as far as I know. So, but in terms of this location, it looks like an appropriate location for it. We can't change the zoning map until we have a survey, so I guess y'all have done it before, where you've approved a rezoning without the survey, because this is just a line on a map right now, and our maps person needs an actual, geographic survey to be able to change the zoning legally, so we will have to have that. But in terms of the site, I don't really have an issue with it being rezoned if that's a prerogative of the county commission. I don't see it as a bad place to zone industrial or commercial, whatever it may be. It's on a major arterial road. It's got industrial around it. I don't see it as nuisance potential. I don't see this as a nuisance potential, this particular use. Now again, you have to look out in the future and try to determine whether it could be a nuisance if a more intense use was there. But in my judgment, this would not be a nuisance creation here. So I'm okay with it. That's my view.
Does anyone have a question for Jordan?
So I think Pop touched on it's standard to do this first before you separate the
You don't
property.
want him to spend the money on a survey, the county commission turns it
Is that
down.
okay?
If that's how y'all.
That's
do it,
we've done it 25 years.
Yeah, it's,
Okay.
you can do that. It's just, we can't legally. She's gonna look at this and say, well, where's the line?
Yeah, we wouldn't do that till we recorded.
So we'd have to get it surveyed like next month, pretty quick here, and yeah,
It would be
there's nothing saying we can't do that.
I've got one.
Okay.
If we rezone this, would that open up standing to rezone other properties for I-1?
It could, but each case is different. Every rezoning is a different piece of property, so you treat them different. It's case by case. Rezoning is land use regulation in general is a legislative decision.
My concern would be, because I believe you when you say you're gonna be a good neighbor. I believe you. The problem is, once it's rezoned, it would be that way forever unless somebody came back and tried to rezone it again. So my concern would be, I see large tracts in here. Could somebody swoop in and start getting, there's 67 acres on the other, maybe that's yours, of Bruner Road here. Could somebody swoop in one day, buy that, and have it rezoned industrial?
It'd have to come before us again, and so if you turn them down, zoning, like I said, it's a prerogative of the governing body, so if you turn them down, they can't just sue you, and anybody can sue you, but, it's the county commission's prerogative to say yea or nay on any rezoning, so this one happens to be right on 11E, so there's really nothing around it that it would be a nuisance to, that we saw, so I don't see, Now,
Yeah,
if
my
one has
biggest
a bigger
cons-
parcel that is a bigger deal,
Yeah.
then you have to take a, then you look and what's around that? What's the worst case scenario for that?
I didn't know if legally that would oblige us to,
No.
And that's the way you've answered the question, pardon me for interrupting, but it's a case-by-case basis. So the next bunch would have to come, and we would look at it standing on its own.
They can't
And
force
this
you,
would have bearing.
they can't force you to, accept another rezoning based on a previous rezoning.
Right.
hasn't that been done before though? Or that argument has been made before?
Well, I'm sure, lawyers make any argument, I don't know, what do you mean?
I'm just wondering, if somebody wanted to take advantage of the A1 property, as we've seen it happen, you'd buy it cheaper, and then they could come in and say, well, this right here
Yeah.
is I1, so why can't this here be I1 if
Right.
they own it?
Well, that's a very different scenario.
Okay.
It's not even, they're not, two are not related there. To rezone an entire, I mean, you're talking about, you've got a neighborhood here, right?
Well, yeah,
So
you've got
if you're-
67, 75,
If
75.
if you're bordering, this is not bordering any neighborhood, this is bordering 11E.
Uh-huh.
This is, you do have a home, I guess, here. So, if you're talking about, this parcel here, it's a very different scenario there.
Okay. Does this affect property values, in your opinion?
I don't think, I'm not, I'm not a real estate or an economist or something, but I don't see how it would have a major impact based on what he's proposing to do at least. I don't think it would. I don't see that as a major factor.
And does it have to be an I1?
What he's
Well,
done
what he's wanting to
specifically
do.
says machine shop and I want.
Okay. Well, it says methadone clinic in I1 too.
Yeah,
Well, if it said commercial, we'd be asking for commercial, but it don't, so.
yeah,
I
yeah.
wish it did.
He's gotta do, manufacturing is just I-1, so. If,
I'm not against you at all. I'm just against having to rezone property I1. I mean, you probably don't want I1 bordering you either, except you'll have control of this, because you'll own it.
Well, I guess whenever I researched this, previously, other machine shops in Jefferson County were listed as commercial. But as we know that things have changed in the last 20-plus years since the last machine shop started, it was zoned commercial. And things have changed as far as zoning since then. And now then, to be able to do manufacturing, it's got to be an I-1, as I understand it.
Right.
So that's the direction that,
So it can't go in C1 or C2?
No, we did one across the
You
road.
You don't have a zoning ordinance? Did they get it?
Several years
Yes.
ago for a machine shop and a truck deal. But it was connected to I-1, so that was, gosh, that's probably been 15 years ago.
Maybe we should add it.
Yeah, I'm just doing what the book says. That's what I have to go by.
You could add light manufacturing or something to, commercial, something that's not heavy duty, which I think this would probably. Anything particular other than,
Well, we just did that building down the road from it. I don't know, 6 months, 8, might be a year ago now. He had to do a site plan.
Do they require a turning lane into something like
That'd
that?
be up to state, coming off 11E.
this wouldn't,
No, I'm not.
this wouldn't have the volume for that, yeah.
Are you coming off Bruin with it?
I can go either way.
Yeah, we didn't, yeah.
But what's your scale that you plan, like, in terms of volume of traffic,
Probably employee-wise, probably 10 employees, somewhere in that neighborhood,
No retail,
no retail.
yeah, so, I mean,
No retail. I mean, everybody that I sell parts, Colgate, Palmolive, Interplas, Denso and Merrill, Carver Engineering, Smith and Wesson. I mean, I'm doing business with Fortune 500 companies. And I've been blessed to be able to have this opportunity to work with these large companies. And I see it as an opportunity to help my community instead of hinder it. And that's why I can't understand that whenever you're trying to help, that I know my vision and other people's visions are different. It's understandable. I mean, I see things different than each and every one of you. But like I said, I want to be a good neighbor. I've been a good neighbor in that community for 58 years. I'm 58 years old, lived there my whole life. We've dairy farmed, we've beef farmed. Whenever I was 18 years old, I wanted to farm. My dad said, "There's no money in it. You've got to go get a job."
You're right about that.
So he gave me stern advice. I didn't like it at the time,
I didn't either.
but he was correct. And the path I chose was to be a machinist. So I want to be able to benefit my community and my family. And Jefferson County has a hope. Like I said, the facility I want to build, I want it to be a nice facility, good paved parking lot, well lit for entrance, but also I want it to be nice. I mean, I live next door to it myself, so I don't want it to be an eyesore to myself nor anybody else in the community. That's the direction I want to take on.
You have any more questions, Mr. Brooks?
I'll rest.
Okay. Does anyone else have any questions? Yes, sir, John.
As far as opening the zone up, we've already opened that up down through there. I mean, you've got Reed Bull 2 mile away. You've got Whitaker a mile away. You've got the mines a half mile away. You've got that truck shop a quarter mile away.
Right.
I mean, it's not like it's without precedent. And the other thing is, everybody gets hung up on this property value. And I know you're not probably old enough, Austin, but a lot of these people sitting here, Miss Sue remembers, I know. I bet Mr. Terry does too. County moved the landfill several years back, and there was a terrible fight. And it's all about the environment, it's all about the property value. And you're sitting on the commission, you know exactly what we paid for that property beside it.
Mm-hmm.
It ain't went down. And if you put a piece of property beside a landfill and the property value don't drop, you can't buy it for less, very few things are going to drop the property value, folks. Now, let's just be honest about it. But
I've asked Susan that many times over the last few years, because it's been brought up a lot. The only thing she'll tell you is mobile home parks, which we've not had one
since we had zoning in 97. But as far as that, I mean, and this thing right here, and we're doing it down through there, and we have on requests and things that fit, and I think this fits. We at Reed Bull Road, there's a machine shop gonna go in there. The boy down there at Whitaker's got warehouse and industrial stuff. But these are things that are not impact. And as far as nuisance, them subdivisions is pretty much a nuisance to me. So I'm impacted by that. So I can't buy into that when you've got a clean business. It's not going to be polluted. It's not having runoff. It's not having anything else.
None of that's
And
my
that-
concern.
I understand. But here's the thing. If we're talking about, and we have talked about in this planning commission, that when we look at redoing all of this, one of the things that everybody says, oh, I didn't know something was going to go in beside me. So if we do plan to have business corridors on major highways, and 11E is a major highway, 92 is a major highway. 139 is a major highway. 2570 are major highways. 66. And if that's where I would much rather have the thing where he turns out in 100 feet out of that driveway, that thing on 11E, than it is out on River Road or Nancy's Ferry, and you've got to come 6-8 miles to town. That's not being smart about our infrastructure. Putting stuff on major highways, on 4-lane roads, where there is water, where there is power, where there is the infrastructure to handle it, is the definition of following this. And if we're going to have commercial overlays, or whatever we come up with, Mr. Terry talked about that, this is exactly the fit that we've been talking about. The whole thing is to push stuff to major highways rather than having it out back.
Commercial and industrial are different though, the zoning. That's my concern.
It's still the same thing, Austin. You want those type businesses. You want them, correct me if I'm wrong, Jordan, you want it where the infrastructure already is. You don't want that thing 8 or 10 miles out of town on a 2-lane road that's 18 foot wide, do you?
Yeah, no, that's a fair.
Where would be the preferred thing for industrial or commercial?
On a heavier duty road, that's built for that. But I will say too, it's perfectly legitimate to consider, you want value-added industry like this. Every county does. Industry's a good thing. It's, and so you can consider the larger goal of economic development and industry as well. And then try to balance the other interests involved, like neighbors and, other community interests. But I'm just saying, keep that in mind. You do want industry and good jobs that don't rely on tourism or some other, where you're taking money out of the local economy, but where industry, you're getting money from other places too. You're selling your products to a wider, I think that's useful to remember.
Based on that, I'm going to move to approve it.
We have a proper motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Have a second. Is there any more discussion? Everybody understand what we're voting on here?
It still has to go before county commission.
Yes, sir.
Recommendation, you were.
Unless we have special.
No, it's on. Oh, you can be there.
Being no more discussion, all those in favor of rezoning this from A1 to I1, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Aye.
The fours have it. Motion passes.
It'll go to the commission in January.
The sixes, yeah. Okay. Moving on down to site plan for you for Lakeside Getaway on Douglas.
That's been pulled.
Been pulled, so we'll move on down to C. Pulled. And site plan review for 4 commercial lots of Old Newport Highway, Dandridge by Newport Highway LLC. You should have a map there, and do we have anyone representing those folks? If you would, come on down, sir.
Oh, that's okay.
No.
Is that right?
No, this is very.
This is the one.
Shows landscape.
Is that the one that emailed?
There's just four different tracks of storage nodes.
That's got topo.
Okay.
There's a site layout, landscape.
We rezoned this property back in 21 to C2. So now they're coming to put storage buildings. It's a little It's already, they cut it up into big tracks and recorded the track, the map.
They're 5 acre tracks.
Yeah, one of, 3, 5, and 1, 7, I think. Yeah, and so they're, want to put storage buildings on each track. No, we didn't give them in time to send them out. I don't know if the surveyor was late or.
Well, the survey will.
Yeah. Hard to get one right
That's a
now.
good question.
No, but Tom told me today, he was good for septic on each track. Because they're 55.
So you're gonna have 4 separate entrances?
Well, it's gonna be 4 separate commercial lots,
Yeah.
4 different buildings. One of them is gonna be a landscaping company, and then the rest of them are different. It's not like a big store. No, it's just 4 separate. 10,000
Right.
feet.
So that's,
The one coming off Flicker was, it's a lot of wood laying through there. Like
Yes, sir.
I didn't
He
realize.
wants it back in the woods.
Yeah,
So
okay.
he's gonna leave most of the woods up. He's gonna have landscaping back. That's enough.
Makes sense.
Yeah. I guess it's gonna be them old metal and
okay, so it will have
garage
septic on
front, yes.
Yeah, he's good for a septic on each track. Once, one drain.
there? Okay.
Tom told me today.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, question is that, so we got 5 different tracks and we're gonna have 5 different buildings. And basically I'm assuming that basically the buildings that you're building, you're gonna put them on the market to sell to different individuals for different businesses or?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right, so, the only reason I ask that is that, okay, so I'm assuming our parking spaces, are they based on the size of the building or are they based on the type of business that goes in?
Yeah, that'd be
Both.
2570 right there.
Both, okay. So if a particular use went in that required more spaces, would they have to come back for another site plan?
Yeah.
Okay. So basically what we're hearing, whatever we approve here, and he decides to sell whatever went in, as long as it met the requirements for that particular parking spot, he would be good, otherwise it would have to be resubmitted.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. Potentially have to do more parking, but, or get a variance or whatever.
Okay.
So they gotta have handicap designate
Yeah.
on these things? I don't see it anywhere.
Yeah, you gotta meet the,
Mr. Ivy, he don't do much anymore, and I wondered if he, remembered that. To be honest with you.
But we definitely want to put the handicap.
Oh, I know you will,
Yeah,
but
you
it needs to be shown.
yeah, you gotta do it.
And I'll have that fixed.
I mean, the property's pretty flat, it's extremely
The
flat.
property is as flat as.
And
It
it
is,
kind of
yeah.
slopes, and so I doubt you're gonna have any flooding or anything. It's supposed to technically have hydrology calculations or some kind of, at least a letter from an engineer saying you're not gonna have any runoff.
I mean, when I talked to the stormwater person, I forget his name, he told me if it's over 5 acres for one building, I didn't need any stormwater.
That may be true, I don't know.
What, I'm sorry, what'd you say?
You could link with that.
I spoke to the stormwater person,
Uh-huh.
and he said if it's over 5 acres, I'm gonna put a 10,000 square foot building on 5 acres. He said, no, I didn't need it, because I was gonna do the stormwater.
Well, you're
And
not,
he said I didn't need it.
you're not disturbing over an acre, are you?
No, sir.
So you don't need a stormwater pollution prevention
I don't need
for
any
the
stormwater.
state. You talking to a stormwater person for the state?
It had to be for the state.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
And then
for
if
our,
the county sees that I do need we can put a pond in if we need it. I don't think we need it.
I don't think, I'm just saying have an engineer give us a letter, at least
Yeah, you
talk to an
bet.
engineer. You don't necessarily need to do a whole drainage plan personally,
Yes.
probably not, but just at least, I doubt that, it's,
I'll definitely get a letter.
because you're adding some, quite a bit of impervious surface overall, so.
I think so, yeah. So,
I mean, that's a pleasure.
What do we do with the truck stop down there? Did we make them come back or what?
I think we approved and then put in some
Contingencies.
Contingencies.
That's what it was. It was approved with contingent upon those requirements being met.
That's
So
that's
that's
what I
why
would
we need
recommend.
some
Mr. Chairman.
handicap parking.
Yep,
Give me 1 second, sir.
and they got to have
And
that letter.
then-
Do they have to have fire hydrants? Some places like this?
We did that with that truck stop.
Huh?
We did that with the truck stop.
They would. It's catch 22 on that. If you remember, a little while back, we had a development on up the road from this. And so our requirements were that there was already an existing fire hydrant, and we were gonna make them add another one. And have enough water pressure to make the one work.
Yeah, that's what, yeah.
So, yeah,
Who does water up there? Is that-
Dandridge, but it's the
Was that
same.
Andrews or Shady Grove?
That was Dandridge out there. So this would be, it would be subject to, a fire hydrant requirement, per se, due to the fact that if there was water pressure, we would want one. And they may be able to get by within one, it's one every 500 feet, as far as it goes.
Just one, right?
Well, you've got all these tracks that are adjoining each other. Basically, you got 294 feet of road frontage on the one track. I don't know what the others are, but you would try to get that to where you had at least, 250 feet each direction, which cover them. The key's gonna be is that you would just need to talk with the Dandridge Water Department to find out if they've got enough pressure. It's not a good thing to put a fire hydrant in if it doesn't operate. It gives people a false sense that they've got some protection and they don't. And so they try to get away from that. Even though we're looking at developers, we're saying, okay, later on you may need it, but in the short term, it can give you a sense of false protection that, hey, when you go to the fire, there's a fire hydrant there. Well, if you can't get water out of it, it doesn't work.
So they need a letter from Dandridge saying that,
Typically,
Yeah.
they'll tell,
Yeah.
if there's not enough pressure, they'll give you a letter
Yeah,
telling you on.
yeah. Because I know, we've already run into that problem, because we were making that requirement, and they came back to us and said, the fire hydrant's already there, it doesn't work. And they told us we couldn't put another one in because it wasn't gonna work. So,
Can they make him supply enough pressure?
well, not necessarily.
water
I mean,
districts is a
I guess here's
different
the thing
deal.
as soon as this, is that we approve things in areas that don't even have utility water. And so they don't, and we've got lines that run out there that are 4 inch that won't handle a hydrant, and, you'd be hard pressed to make this individual, pay the cost of what it would be to provide that infrastructure in there so that they could have a fire hydrant.
Yeah.
Yes.
And if you increase the pressure that much too, you could have a negative effect on the other things around it.
Well,
That's true. Yeah.
so, it's, all I'm saying is if we just ask for the letter and the letter comes back and says there's not enough pressure there, then we'd be hard pressed to put the hydrants in. If there's
Yeah.
pressures there, then I think the hydrants
Yeah.
should be installed.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
make it the requirements and/or a letter that says that they don't do it.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I think I have some questions for Jordan.
Okay,
We always try to put a fire hydrant.
but I'm gonna let Jordan go last. If anybody else has anything for him or anything else we want to discuss, we'll let Jordan clean it up at the end. Everybody else good, or do you have any more comments, questions?
These are a lot of questions for me.
I've noticed
Just kidding.
Okay, you good? Okay, Jordan, what's
Maybe I do
your-
have a question.
Okay, go ahead.
Split it up a little bit. I didn't see retention ponds. Are there, none of the tracks have a retention pond?
Well, that's what I was saying, if we're not disturbing an acre, and I did call the stormwater and I asked if I needed detention ponds, and he said I did not. If we need them, we'll put them in,
Okay.
but I mean, he told me I did not.
Yeah, the state, in terms of state's
Yeah,
requirements.
that was a state deal, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we have local requirements as well. Now, for his particular property is extremely flat and it actually slopes in towards the middle too, so. But he is adding some impervious surface and, it's kind of a compromise to say, okay, well, at least have an engineer look at it and, the engineer has to stamp the letter and say, okay, this is not going to add runoff to, beyond the site. It's
We
all-
put them in most pieces of property that we work with. If we need to do it, we'll do it.
Right.
I mean, we don't want water running anybody else's law, that's for sure.
That's my
Yeah,
concern,
they
because I'm
consume-
thinking
No, I agree with you. I mean,
the buildings and the
If it
parking
needs
lot.
it, we'll put it in, we'll just let the engineer decide that.
Does that
That's
have any,
all we can do, right?
does that have anything to do with this body though?
What's that?
So the site plan doesn't have retention ponds. He doesn't have a problem with it, but does that have anything to do with us?
We can require as Jordan said, an engineer, stamped engineer letter.
To say yay or nay.
That's a requirement of this.
Okay.
Which would be good for me, because I want to make sure that we keep the water off the people's property.
Yeah, you don't want to get sued, first, they'd have standing.
Hey, I want my water on my piece of property.
I mean, that's,
And then another question for you, Jordan. How does
Okay, wait, before we give Jordan his time, let's make sure we're done with this
Okay.
gentleman. Does anyone else have anything? We good? Okay, Jordan, what's your take on things, and then we'll open up questions once he's done.
I would recommend that we approve it contingent on either a letter from the engineer stating that the runoff situation is, it doesn't need facilities to handle it. The site, the development is not sufficient enough to require that, or, you know, either a letter from the engineer, hydrology calculations, and stormwater detention facilities. And then also identify the handicap spaces that you need on there. And then, what was the other thing? Fire hydrant.
Fire hydrant or letter.
Get a fire hydrant within 500 feet of each building, and if the water pressure's not there, then give us a letter documenting that.
I'll have all that on the site plan before I try to get my approval, my building permit.
That'd be my recommendation.
Okay, ma'am, Brooks, you got anything for him?
well, he touched on the handicap spots. How does that work? Since he's developing the property, I guess, to lease or sell, how does that work if a business goes in that requires more? Do they, if we've already approved a site plan for the property, do they have to start over as the owner or leasee?
Requires more parking in general, you mean?
Sure.
Because, well, they would just add to what's already here. They, you know.
I mean, are they obligated to, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
You would have to have more handicap spaces if you had more parking spaces.
I just want to make sure if we approve this, that,
Yeah, we can go back and if during the building permit process is when it would be, they'd say you don't have enough parking spaces. And, you know, I doubt that'd be the case based on the size of these buildings. You never know.
10,000 feet, there's so many parking spaces.
Yeah.
But what would the handicaps do?
You know, but it's possible, right? You know.
Yes, sir.
Set point.
On that, on the handicap parking, so if he, and I think this is incorrect, all right, so based on what's there, and let's say he sells the building, and the people that buy that building, let's say they say, okay, this is what we're gonna do, as far as it goes, whatever their business is gonna be. Okay, if it is a use that's allowed in there, then we would take a look at that use based on who buys it and what their intended use is. And then they would have to come back and we would have to look at their parking as far as it goes. And they may have to adjust it.
even if they're just leasing the property?
Well, there
Yeah,
again,
it
it's
doesn't
it's what it's your actual use that you're using the
Okay.
property for.
Okay.
Right now, it's vacant, okay? Right now, it's vacant, and the parking spaces are based upon vacant. When it becomes, when there's a type, when the use changes, okay, instead from vacant to whatever, then that use then may come back and dictate that they have to do more stuff on that. So they just, it's not carte blanche that once that's in there, that it's set in stone. Because right now, we're looking at it as a vacant tract, and this is how much parking he's gonna put. The people that come in there, you don't know, whatever's allowed in this zone, as far as it goes, will dictate their parking. And they will, if it's the case, they'll have to come back before us and get this redone again, so.
Any other questions for Jordan? Okay, being none, what's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve these site plans subject to the following: that handicap parking is added, that we have a drainage letter from a professional engineer stating that no retention is needed and that the drainage is good, and a letter from the Danridge Water Department in regards to hydrants, and if they say there's enough pressure there, that our hydrants be added every 500 foot up the road.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, have a proper motion and proper second. Any more discussion? Everybody understand what to vote on? Okay, all those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Appreciate your time.
Okay, moving on to the next item on the agenda, discussion of land use plan, possible rezoning of Jefferson County.
Jordan finally brought you a map.
I did it all myself. No. Our map lady,
It's right there, you
I've got to.
Planner, that's lame.
You know, I would have said that, but if it's wrong.
No, I didn't. No, if it's wrong, I didn't do it. No, what I have here for you is an existing land use map that comes from the state comptroller and a zoning map that has the whole county zoning. Where can I lay these out?
We're upside down.
That's fine for me and Mark.
Now, we can't really overlay these, so we're going to have to spread this one out separately.
You getting all this, Mike?
Put that over, Miss Sue. There we go.
So, I mean, my thought is, this has got existing land use, and you have this legend over here, so you've got, 15 different land uses here. Single-family residence, less than 5 acres, single-family residence, greater than 5 acre tracts, duplex, multifamily, mobile home park, resort residential, general commercial, office, miscellaneous commercial, blah, 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 industrial, etc. And so all these are coded based on what's there now, how it's being used now. And I believe this is based primarily on tax data. And then zoning here, this is what the current zoning is. So my thought, so let you guys take a gander at this here, and then, this is convoluted here. You got so many different colors in here. It's kind of, I'm thinking we might want to zoom in on a few different corridors on both of these, and then bring those back and kind of.
Can you split this like either north and south or?
Quadrants.
Yeah, or split it in the middle and then split north and south, because you got.
Well, we
This
don't
is
need
gonna
to
be-
show, there's big chunks of this, we don't even need to probably,
You don't even show the lake, but you got this on the other side of the lake.
the lake and
If we
then.
could quarter.
If you could
Quadrants.
split it
brought me
by
tax
92
Well, those
or
are-
thereabout,
Yeah,
they're talking 4 versus 100.
oh, yeah.
you had that split right down through there, right across through there between
So you brought.
Dandridge and Jefferson City. Split this thing right there and have this side and that side
Probably, I'll have to,
and
Go ahead, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt.
I don't know about this one though. This one,
well, that's what I was saying. If
We
you
could
split it
zoom.
along like 92, and it's more manageable where we could
this
overlay
is
this
92
thing.
here, so maybe I'm pretty sure she could split this one. This one, I'll have to see.
Here's my question. You mentioned then that he brought you a new book of tax maps?
But they don't have the parcel numbers. And I don't know, it's gonna be hard to.
Apparently you can't even
But
get
we're gonna
parcels.
try.
Well, I don't know necessarily we had the parcel numbers, but what we'd have is that we would have a smaller one of these right here.
We got them, those
You-
104.
So in other words, he'd have a map that just had this area.
Yeah,
And it would be easier to look at than the whole thing.
Either quadrants or half
Yeah.
split down 90.
if you had it split straight from Jefferson City to Dandridge on an angle right there, split it by 92, and then split this thing in half.
It would be better if she could do that.
If you do it in quarters,
Yeah.
You went 92 Dumpling Valley or something,
well, let's see,
made quadrants.
what's along in there? It's 2570? Yeah,
And it'll intersect 92.
2570.
25, split it 92, and then 2570, and that puts it in quarters.
Okay,
You got the bottom here, and you got that up there, and then you got towards Miss Sue, and you've got that quadrant over there.
and I'm thinking if we did that, I mean, the main thing I'm trying to get, so where we can get down into the parcel, I think that'll get us zoomed in enough to get into the parcels.
Where's
where we can
40 at?
Start to circle some stuff.
It's the big one right through the middle, right here.
Up there.
If you done 92 all the way, and then done 40,
Or you can do 40, either one.
40 to split it.
yeah, I think either one of them, if we do
25,
2570, it kind
and
of bears
40.
the white line.
Okay, just split it by 40 then,
Yeah.
and then that puts it in quarters.
We'll see what we can do on that.
You could do, yeah, you could do 40 to 81,
Can you get me digital?
40 to the split and then follow 81.
Follow 81 up.
Yeah.
Have her send it to me.
Yeah.
Hey, Jordan.
Yep.
Can you send?
If you can do 40 to the split and then follow 81 instead of coming on around through here on 40, and we'll let 92
No, I see.
go the distance. This, and you'll have 4 quarters of it,
Have
pretty
4
evenly
quadrants.
landmassed.
Does it just get fuzzy? No, it's only because you just don't have parsons. Oh, that's these 2 maps. But on the,
I mean, we've seen these, we know what we need to get them down to where we can.
Yeah, we need to get them blown up to where we can actually see them.
Yeah.
And then we'll just take a quarter at a time,
Yeah.
and you can sit there and do that, overlay them and look, then if you've got them slowed down like that.
All right, I'll see what we can do.
Gonna be a big
And,
piece of paper.
Yeah.
Well, it'll be these sizes pretty much for each quadrant.
That, and when you look at that, it all blends, the different colors, the dots and the agricultural and the timber tracks and all that stuff, it just,
Yeah, this is almost impossible to
Yeah.
read as the whole. The county's a big landmass, you know what I'm saying? So I don't know how many square acres it is, but.
but this better what we
Anybody
have.
know how many square acres is Jefferson County?
I don't know, but we got, I know we
We're
got,
improving.
I know we got a little over 32,000 acres underwater.
Or square miles is square miles is what, anybody know, Marion, you know how many square miles Jefferson County is? Okay. I was just checking.
Look that up. I can count for it.
I don't know if you could Google that one.
314.
I'm sorry, you can,
314.
314? Is that right? No, 314 square miles.
oh,
That's a lot, that's a big area. Square miles, that's, you know, that's more
That's what I'm
than,
gonna move on to.
640 acres in a square mile.
Would you be able to show it on the screen
640.
that big?
on the screen? Yeah, actually, we could, yeah, could we show, if it's a PDF, just show it?
That's Michael, PDF?
You can, you'll just have to zoom in.
Just so they can, so that people can see it, yeah, I mean, we can do that, we'll have
Which I have
PDFs.
these PDF, but if she did, when she does it in the quadrants, if we could get it, each one of those would be.
Yeah, that's what you
If we had this white and overlay that thing on the screen like that, well, you could do it on the screen if you're projecting it. If you left this white, A1,
Okay,
if it was in white rather than blue, and then we laid this on top of it as a transparency.
but you're still gonna have the other colors that's,
Sure, but it would be laying over the white. You would know the white
Was all they want.
was all A1.
Yeah.
okay. Let me see how this is gonna look.
200,960 acres.
It's a lot easier to look at a city. You know, Dandridge is probably, I don't know, maybe 30, 40 square miles, or, you know, probably not
If
even
it been for
that.
that dock, we wouldn't have to fool with it.
Yeah, if it was that dock, we'd be hurting on taxes too.
Okay, so we're gonna look at getting the maps, cutting quarters, and we're gonna split 92, and then Interstate 40 to the split, and then take 81 on, and that'll be our 4 quarters. And we're gonna look at being able to project it, and have the overlay of this map over top of the A1 map in white is what we're shooting to do. That way we can,
We'll see, we'll try it, we'll give it see how that, if it's legible to do that.
Yeah, see if you can line that up, and if you can't, leave these colors where they are. And if we had a transparent type that had these colored in on uses,
I think it would certainly at least be useful to look at that, yeah. And then still
move them
keep
right over the top of it, and then we can see what areas.
What's zoned
That'll
in
show,
that's
yeah, I mean, it would show
being
up behind that.
used as commercial. We'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah, she can do it, I mean, if it can be done, she can do it, so it's about as good as.
stuff like that can get done.
Yes.
Okay, if we're good on this, we're waiting on the maps to come back in quarter so we can look at those. I'm gonna move on to other business. Got something I want to share with you, and I'm just going to put it out there on the table, let you know what's going on and see what you think about it. In the county, we have a farm that is, fella is harvesting rock off the farm. It's his farm. He is not able to crush rock on his farm the way it's currently zoned. But he is taking this rock and he is hauling it just across the county line to where he has a crusher.
To Sevierville.
Yeah, to Sevierville, on a very small piece of property, directly across from a pretty nice apartment complex. And they are crushing the rock there and selling it as retail. And Sevier County is getting this sales tax.
How much are they getting?
It's somewhere around $300,000 to $350,000 a year, maybe a little more. And the same number of trucks are leaving the piece of property in Jefferson County. It's and if you want to speak on that here in a minute to share with it, be more than happy to let you.
If it's the people that I think it is, I'm paying them to haul it back to Jefferson County and paying Sevier County the sales tax.
Yeah. You know, and this is a unique thing. I did go out and look at the property. I looked at the where a crusher would go, and I went, and went and looked where it's currently at. And I stood 50 foot from it, and you can still talk on the cell phone. If you got 100 yards from it or 150 yards from it, you wouldn't pay it no more attention. You would a bush hog or a lawnmower.
A rock crusher?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's, according to what being told, not the first complaint filed from the apartment complex. It says directly across the road. And
From the rock crusher?
from the crusher.
Okay.
Yeah. And the road it enters leaving the farm is a state road. It's not a county road. You know, so, but you would not have a difference in the amount of traffic. You wouldn't have a difference in the amount of anything other than the sales tax dollars that Jefferson County was being able to recoup and not pass off to a county that's probably not as much in need of it as we are. You know.
Seem to be doing okay.
Yeah.
2.5, yeah, about 2.5 cents property tax.
350,000?
Some, no, that's what they're getting now.
134,000.
I thought it was 117.
134 a penny. That's 95%, so that'd be 270. Yeah, 2.5 cents.
Somewhere between $27,000 and $36,000 a month is what's going out in sales tax.
Or what are you proposing?
Well, how do we keep that from happening? How do we make it possible for Jefferson County to have that crusher located where it ought to be and us be able to get the sales tax dollars out of it?
Would that be considered a quarry?
Yeah.
It's already a quarry because they're taking the rock out.
Yeah, but technically, it's not.
Technically, it's not.
Technically not, but they're doing the exact same thing, except they're just not allowed to crush it.
Now, I went down there when
If
I had
you sell it and you
several
market it,
complaints.
then it becomes a quarry.
And he knows that.
Yeah, that's where that goes. And so, I mean, he came and he talked to me, and basically what he would have to have is he'd have to have I-1 zone, is what he would have to have. And I just told him basically I didn't think that he would get it rezoned. But that being said,
Is that permitted in I-1?
it is,
It is.
yeah. That being said, what we should have done, and we've got other things in there that we need to change on this, which would help us in these situations, okay? Is allow that as a special exception where you get to look at it here, site per site, to see what, if it was gonna be a nuisance or whatever. And
Like
then
a special
basically,
use?
Yeah, and, as a special use, in that particular zone. You just take it out as an allowed use, but you put it in as a special use, which means then this body would, when it would come before us, we would look at the surroundings and everything else and come up with criteria, and we would say, that would work, okay? So, but the way it is now, you know, it goes back to what we were talking about earlier in the I-1. There are probably a lot of other things in there that we need to address when we go through this, that we also need to put in there as special exceptions. It's not that they're a bad thing, it's just that that particular thing at this particular place may not be appropriate. And if we move some of those things to that right there, then we get more control, and it should help us grow and be better.
Well, that was my, sorry.
Yeah,
I would say zoning is a one-size-fits-all, it's a blunt tool, but this allows you to treat things on a case-by-case basis.
it does.
100% agree.
Yeah, I think that's one of the best tools that we've got.
That's my issue with I-1.
I agree, and that's why I'm saying there are certain things in there. I-1 can be a good thing. It's just that there are certain things in here, and if you move more, some of the things that you're worried about into special exceptions, then it's just not like, okay, I'm worried about if we was on this I-1, this guy's gonna get to do that. He wouldn't. He'd have to come back before us and get approval. And that's
So-
we need to go that way on a lot of things, just not necessarily I-1.
With the special use, do you still have to rezone? Or could you keep it A1 with a special use
No,
permit
you would need to rezone as far as that goes, yeah, you
So
know.
you couldn't put a quarry in A1, but you could put it in I1, but you could still have more control over it
with a special
with a
use?
special use.
Yes.
And that goes to some of the things, just like Ms. Marion was talking about, the development standards. With those standards, if you have that special use, it's easy to do that one.
Yeah.
Because if you've got a piece of property that's 600 acres and you want to put something in the dead middle of it, the development standards for that is not going to be near as strict as if you've got it across the road from something else. And this would allow that. And I think Mr. Terry's on the spot there.
You could almost, in an I-1 zone, put everything that's in there under a special exception. And with that in there, then, you're not saying that when just because this is I-1, you're gonna get to do what you wanna do. You're gonna have to come back and ask us if I can do that.
Why did Sevier County let them?
They've already got the quarries there,
Yeah,
and it's already set up.
yeah, it's already set up. Sevier County hasn't had zoning very long.
Let me answer the question. Blaylock.
It's actually not Blaylock.
It's not, no.
No, I'm saying why they would allow quarries in there.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
And Vulcan.
They're not,
Yeah.
Vulcan and
Vulcan's over
Blaylock,
there.
they're not gonna let
Chair, when I
you.
was looking at this, I couldn't help but think of you, and there's a junkyard real close by. I didn't knew that one.
Well,
And we'll leave it off.
there was one other, there was another thing that Tim, he talked to me this week, okay? There was a group looking to do, I guess, a distillery. And, yeah,
But
and they
I have
were in
not
the,
heard back from them.
okay, they were in the same boat, okay, sort of in the same boat, although they own 93 acres that they would have put the distillery on.
Well,
But
they
the
would,
prob-
they don't want to.
Yeah, I'm saying, well, for what they needed, for the scope that they needed, they would need it I-1. And they could have done it in A1, they just couldn't have done it enough. And so they were looking to go bigger scale, you know, I'm just saying that, you know, the location that we looked at, I mean, I don't know, it would have been iffy, but it was, the thing was is that you had somebody that wanted to do something there from an industry standpoint, and we were sort of handcuffed again. We've handcuffed ourselves on some of this, And, that's why I say, when we make these changes, I think there's gonna be a lot of things that are going under special exception. I'm not saying they're all bad, I'm just saying that there's sometimes, we can protect ourselves better.
Yeah.
Let me have I just wanted to bring this up for discussion now, and let you know what was going on. We can definitely think about it, look at it, and talk about it more next month. Vice Chair, I'm gonna vacate the chair, and I would like for you to come and finish out the rest of the duties for tonight's meeting, and I do have to leave. Thank you.
All right.
Y'all have a good night.
Assume the throne.
Hey, Terry, do the people that's mining this and everything, do they object to taking that to Sevier County? Have the-
No,
They
got
prefer
no
not
choice.
to.
They prefer
He
not.
preferred, cause, I mean,
But I made them.
'Cause-
I mean, I had to make them.
we had
Yeah.
a choice, but, no, they prefer.
They'd prefer
They
it
prefer
be in Jefferson County, of
yes.
course. Okay,
I mean,
yeah.
you know, and he just looks at me like,
Really? Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Well,
Well, and we had several complaints. And they even talked in front of the county commission. But what he's doing down there now, he's not violating anything. He starts crushing the ends.
yeah.
How about
And
when the
then he
rock
knows-
was falling out of the trucks
And
and
it's,
going in the
it's
ditch?
odd,
Right.
that, and this is one of the reasons why I think we've got to address everything. But it's odd the way our stuff is. He can dynamite, he can drill, he can run the loaders, he can do all of that,
And can't crush
but
rocks.
he can't run the crusher
And sell it.
and
Sell it down there.
And I guess he could run a crusher, but he couldn't, he can't sell it down there.
Can't run
Can't run a crusher, but it's,
Can't do either
the
one.
dynamite and all that is
Yeah.
allowable.
Oh, that makes perfect sense, yeah.
It's kind of what I thought.
Yeah.
You want me to tell you, you know what the solution that I told him?
What?
This was my solution. I said, if the county looked at this as a good business investment, and they had a piece of land up here, as far as that goes, that was close to industry or whatever, and they just bought it and gave it to you for you to put your crusher there, it'd pay for itself in a month. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
it's just things like that sort of just, you know, sometimes.
Ties your hands
Well,
and you
it just,
can't do nothing.
it just, you know, I don't, it's just, when you think about it from the logic standpoint of the income that possibly that we're losing over, you know, and zoning is probably the hindrance.
Question, is your all's land use committee doing a analysis of the zoning ordinance, or is that part of the, and are they meeting?
That's part of this. Oh, you're talking about.
You know, long range
Long
plan, is what
range,
you're talking
right?
Yes,
I don't
I don't
know.
know.
okay.
But that won't have really anything to do with zoning as far as that
Okay,
goes. It's
okay.
just what they want to project,
Okay,
the
so,
directions as far as they go.
so do you want me to take a look at making some of these changes and doing for rock quarries and perhaps, so I've had some people ask me about campgrounds, doing a special use for campgrounds as well.
I think all of that as we go through.
I think you're looking at it.
That's already
Yes,
on its
that-
way.
That's what I was hoping that this was gonna do.
County commission just approved, or just, we're gonna have it in the November meeting.
Send it in November, yeah, we're gonna look at
Doug-
what Katie brought up.
Doug did
Come to
some,
you all.
Doug Drennan,
Doug
Yeah.
Brennan made a
No, Katie, yeah, I
resolution.
drafted that, he did it for Katie, so it'll be on the agenda in November.
okay.
But I think as we go through these things, every time you get one of those requests, write it down, because,
Yeah,
you know, there's a ton of things when, and Big Pop knows this, that the reason zoning was put in was to stop trailer parks.
Yep, no doubt about it.
I mean, there's no question that's why it was put in, because we was being inundated with trailer parks at that point in time, and that stopped. But a lot of the things that weren't ever thought about in '97 have come up. And there's holes in this thing, and there's things that need to be addressed, and restrictions that some are too lax and some are too tying our hands, we'll see. So I think that that's that's why we've started this process.
Well, let's say for instance, the rezone that we looked at tonight for recommendation. All right, because it had to be lumped into that item. If we had a zone that was light industry, heavy commercial, as far as that goes, we would be better off. But we've been, since I have been on here, I don't know that we have created one new zone. RR was the last zone that was created, and that's been it. I think there needs to be some other things. It's just based on what we've got, where we're at. That's why I really think this is gonna be, when we look at this in comparison to that, I think it's gonna be eye-opening as to what's out here in comparison to what's on that zoning map. And that we don't even realize, so, anyway. To you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, we got any more questions? When do y'all wanna meet? When will that
He'll have
be
it
done?
next
Next month.
meeting.
Next
Can you do
meeting,
that?
yeah.
That turnaround?
Yeah, certainly by next month.
Okay.
Any more discussion?
Do you need a motion?
Make a motion to,
I make a motion to adjourn, Mr. Chairman.
we'll have a motion to adjourn.
I second.
Second,
We got to vote on it.
vote. All in favor?
Aye.
I don't
Say
even,
no.
I don't even say who